Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Mike, can you call roll?
Ms. Benecki.
Present.
Ms. Brown.
Present.
Mr. Essenflair.
Present.
Ms. Hogue.
Here.
Ms. Hollingworth.
Here.
Ms. Paoli. Mr. Seidel.
Here.
Vice President Hogartle.
Here.
President Crooked.
Here. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, could you please read the statement concerning open public meetings?
Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Superintendent of Schools in the following manner. On January 12, 2022, notice of this meeting was posted on the interior of the school administration offices, 1 Lincoln Avenue, Haddonfield. A written notice was submitted and filed with the Haddonfield Borough Clerk, and notices were emailed to the Courier Post and the Retrospect newspaper.
Okay, thank you. And first up today, we're going to have a presentation by Dr. Henderson on our 18 to 21 program and our consultative model.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Come on up to the mic.
Okay, thank you. So I'm here to present on a proposal on our 18 to 21 program for Haddonfield School District. Currently, any students that we have in the district are currently in our community-based instructional program, which it stops at the age of 18 or generally when a student is in 12th grade. And if a parent is seeking education beyond the age of 18 or 12th grade, they would sort out a transitional program for students that are in the age range of 18 to 21. So we do currently have students that are in 18 to 21 programs, but it is not our 18 to 21 program. So what I have done with the assistance of our consultant, who is a job coach, and our team case manager, Michelle Scott, was come up with an 18 to 21 program that our students in Haddonfield can transition to instead of sending them to out-of-district placement. So our target population would be our learners who have developmental or multiple disabilities, and they've completed the 12th grade. They've met all graduation requirements, but they have not graduated. And the students would be from Haddonfield, and we are hopeful that with an 18 to 21 program, that other districts within the county and other counties would sought our 18 to 21 program. What we're looking for in our 18 to 21 program is that our students enjoy being there. We also want to keep our program unique and fitting to the needs of what we see for our students, so we could easily tailor our program instead of putting them in other programs that may not necessarily meet their needs. We want to ensure that just some of the characteristics that they are maintained, they are allowed to be creative, intelligent, clever, helpful, loyal, and then the needs. So one of the biggest things with 18 to 21-year-olds is like, if they have a significant disability, they don't always feel the sense of belonging. And if we had an 18 to 21 here, Haddonfield School District is a really large campus. Generally, students may feel isolated, so we want them to feel like they belong. We want to make sure that we're giving them a program where They can enhance on their independent skills. They're learning the location. They're learning to fit into communities and being accepted by various communities, and they're receiving the support that they need to thrive as an adult and developing those relationship skills and communication skills necessary to carry them beyond 21. So insights from some of the empathy work, and this is just based off of student interviews and what students want. Students want to go to college, but few programs are designed for them. Students want to meet new teachers and make new friends. So they want that exposure to the different types of teacher and not isolated to just one classroom. They want to be quote unquote normal young adults and doing things where they can travel and engage in different activities with their friends without the constant adult supervision. They want to be able to navigate in communities independently. They want to have jobs. A lot of times with students in 18 to 21, when they are beyond 21, they go to social service agencies for funding to support them. But they want to learn skills and get jobs that can support them as adults. And then they want to have agency over their lives. They don't want people to tell them what to do. They want to be involved in those big decisions. And so in us developing an 18 to 21 program, we would be able to foster this type of independence that the students in that age range are seeking. When we talk to parents about what they want, parents want to ensure that their children are in a safe and secure environment as an adult. So they want them to be employed. They want them to have friends and be involved in activities. They aren't short from worries, because I think as parents, we always worry about like what the outcome is going to be for our children, and especially when they become adults. So we want to ensure that when we are educating our students, that they do feel like they have an adult system that is supportive. Some parents feel like the students are overwhelmed and confused by the various agencies. So when you provide an 18 to 21 program, you don't exclude the agencies, but you have it confound to a space where it's easily accessible for our students. And then parents are grieving the life they wish for their child. And so in an 18 to 21 program, this is the part that gives the parents just some of the security needed, so they don't have to grieve over what the outcome for their child will be. And they want a school option to be that they can be excited about, that their child can be excited about, and that their child feels good when they're in that space. So when Michelle and Kate and we talked about like what would we do that would promote the change that we need for Haddonfield students and for our young adults that have developmental disabilities. We don't want to continue where they are feeling isolated and they are not fitting in within the community. They're not able to find viable employment, or they're underemployed, or they are pegged to specific types of employment. We don't want them to feel isolated, and which when we examine a lot of the other programs out there, sometimes that these are the feelings that students are feeling in those programs. So we want a program where they're not feeling those things and they are developing the skills, especially because as the students get older, their parents are getting older, and then that becomes a concern of what options that there will be for the students. We are creating a space where there is more value added for our students with disabilities. And and they actually have a space to be contributors to not only their adult life, but to their education and the vocation that they select. So this is just some statistics just to show you what generally happens when we have young adults with developmental disabilities. This is the unemployment rate for people with disabilities consistently marked higher than those without. And so the blue with those are students with disabilities, and then orange without. So what you can see from these trends is that the students who are with disabilities, they're always marked consistently higher in unemployment in comparison to those without. And so we want to try to change that trajectory by providing a program that can give them the skills so that they can compete. And we feel that developing our program, they will be able to do so. We talked about some of the missed learning opportunities that sometimes programs have for our students, whether that's in a classroom or a job site. Often some programs, they just place students in certain programs or job sites and with very little input from those students. So we want to look at those pre-established job sites and see what the students are missing out, and then looking at the important pieces of the curriculum and searching and helping them obtain the employment that they need to be independent adults. Students are placed at sites which they have no say, and that's not what we want to do. We want them to be able to job survey. Job survey opportunities often come from students going into places to be cleaners or servers. So we want a different perspective for our students. We feel like they have a lot of strengths, that they don't have to be the server, that they don't always have to be the person cleaning, that they are capable of learning some of those skills. And we want to try to avoid any type of unintended message to our learners when they are seeking employment or having someone find it for them. The worst thing you can do is take that from them. That's their independence, them having that say. Some learners might even interpret that as saying, I'm not capable of finding a job. So we would like our program to help them understand that they are extremely capable. And the school may be in fact teach students job search or interviewing skills in the classroom, but we also want to be able to take what they learn in the classroom when they do job surveys and then be able to apply that out in the world. So here is about our value proposition. What will Haddonfield School District Transition Instructional Program in partnership with Camden County College Garden State Pathways post-secondary transition program give our students? We are trying to create opportunities where students are creating their own dream team of individuals that they see can help them achieve their goals to become those independent learners. We want our learners to be given the agency and support they need to pursue those goals in adulthood. So the learners that we're looking for are learners in our current community-based instructional program. Most of our learners in that program, they have either developmental or intellectual disabilities. Some of them are identified as having multiple disabilities. So we're hoping to take those learners that are in that 18 to 21 range, and we want to provide them with a program that will help them to develop the knowledge, skills, and mindsets and relationships needed to flourish as adults. The long-term impacts that we see from our program. So we want to increase their employment. We want to increase their financial independence so they don't have to solely rely on the government assistance. We want to be able to expand their support networks by introducing them to various agencies and other individuals that may be disabled or non-disabled. And we want a more neurodiverse workforce. We need to step outside of what people think the status quo is for students that are disabled. And we want to increase their acceptance of individuals with developmental disabilities in their communities, but exposing them to the vocational skills necessary would also create opportunities for them to be accepted by their typically developing peers. Some short-term outcomes for our students. The students graduate the program with two options. They have employment as an option because they've taken a vocational track. So they've done the job survey. Some of the job surveys on Camden County College is the optical clinic. They have the veterinarian clinic. They also have a like an auto body type clinic there. And so those are just some of the options that students will have opportunities to be exposed to. So they would then have the option to take a matriculated track where they do some job surveys, but in addition to that, if their scores allow them to on the occupational test, they get to take some of the college courses on the campus, working towards a vocational certificate. When they turn 21, if they've taken a matriculated track, they then have a community that they've already been established in to be able to say, hey, I like this, I want to continue, and take additional college classes. Beyond 21, the school district is not responsible to educate, so this would be something that families would have to discuss if that's what they choose to do for their children. The students graduate the program at close to a fourth grade level in reading. So we're talking about students that have some significant impairments, that a lot of them are not reading, they're not writing, they are not able to do math on the same level as their peers. But we want to make sure that in our program, that we're just not accepting that they come with that in our program, that they actually are given the remediation necessary to try to go beyond the fourth grade level in reading, writing, and math. We want to help them with any challenges that they may face academically so that they can make the necessary gains to be successful as learners and to achieve higher levels as high as possible. Students will also be able to improve their employability in hard and soft skills because of the job survey that they'll be able to access on a college campus. Students increase their community involvement. They get to partake in any activities that the college campus would offer, in addition to being able to take courses that maybe some of their peers that are in the same program may not take because it's not within their interest. And then students will expand their professional and personal networks. Students and their families are connected to any state and federal government support for which they are eligible. So we would provide them with the assistance through transition planning to government agencies if that's what they needed in that 18 to 21 range. What type of graduate profile are we looking at? So we have several here, and what are we striving to develop and aiming for in each of our graduates? So we want to make sure that Area 1 remains a focus for our students. We don't want to set aside academic and career because it's extremely important for us if it's what we currently do in this district, we push the students here to do more academically and to strive for as high as they can possibly achieve. So for reading, writing, numeracy, career knowledge, and skills and financial literacy. The second area that is extremely important for our students in the graduate profile we are trying to create within the program is helping them to develop the self-awareness, relationship skills, growth mindset, perseverance, and empathy. And so we intend to do something that most 18 to 21 programs are not doing, which is to continue to provide the support of our child study team practitioners, our social workers, our learning consultant, our school psychologists, our related service providers, and our coach to help them to develop socially and emotionally. Transferable skills. Sometimes this is a challenge for a lot of our students. Like, we're good at doing interventions, but then when the students have certain skill sets, some things that are hard for them is to transfer that skill into many different settings. So we want to be able to work with our students so that whatever interventions that we provide them with, whatever supports we provide them with, that they are able to transfer those skills into multiple settings where they are effective communicators, they're displaying responsible behavior, they're able to make decisions, they're able to adapt to various obstacles, and they are showing that they have learning strategies that will help them to problem solve. The last area that we are wanting our graduates to have is the global competence, civic identity. They are a part of the community. They are able to be interculturally competent, and they are able to have agency. So we want our learners to be able to have all these things by helping them through the 18 to 21 academic program, where they're not being told what to do. They're being afforded with the resources, and we are trying to help them to decide what direction that they should go in with the supports of our wraparound services. So in the 18 to 21 program, our students will all have a person-centered approach. They lead the team. They tell the team what it is that they would like to accomplish. We do this through transitional surveys. We also do this through data collection. We provide the one-to-one counseling and mentorship through our school social worker and our job coach. And we have involvement in planned unstructured and structured activities and events through the campus. And we try to look at any restraints, any design constraints that we would have. So Michelle, myself, and Kate, we actually went to tour Camden County College. We walked the campus from class to class and building to building to see what accessibility would be like for our students. We have students coming up that are in wheelchairs, and we want them to be able to maneuver through the campus. We looked at what funding would look like to do such a program. Would we need state approval? Yes, we would need state approval for our program. An application will be sent to our county director of child study team to approve our program. And then we looked at staffing. Who do we need to help our students in an 18 and 21 program? We have myself overseeing the program along with the case managers. We have educators that are necessary. So within the program, the college provides instructors, but we felt that the college provided instructors would not be enough. If we want to be able to remediate some of those skill deficits, we would have to provide our students with an educator that can provide them with the remediation necessary in our core subject areas. And then they need to have work-based learning coordinated on the site. So that's our job coach. Our job coach will work with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation to ensure that our students not only are receiving the job coaching skills necessary, but the support necessary to seek out employment. We have our related service providers as well. So something that is pretty unique here in Haddonfield is in our community-based instructional programs, when students don't need related services, what we do for our students is we provide them with related services from an occupational therapist or speech pathologist, and how to communicate not only expressively, but through verbal communication, but in written communication. Very simple skills of being able to go to the grocery store and purchase things. So we have our related service providers doing those activities with our students pretty regularly without them needing one-to-one related services. And then we have our social worker, Michelle Scott, who is pretty awesome. She does a really good job being able to communicate with families and the students. And then we have our college career counselor, which that is provided by the college. Nursing services would just be something that is on a college campus. The other design constraint is transportation back and forth to the program and to internships. What technology would our students use? So currently, we have our students on Chromebooks. Very few of our students use iPads, but we want to be able to continue the use of the technology that we use for all our students here when they are in their 18 to 21 program. And then through an established partnership with Camden County College, we would be seeking space so we can provide our wraparound services and our curricular support. And this is just how we will test our blueprint. So we make a lot of decisions in the district based on data, and so we want to be able to continue that. One of the things that the assistant director at the college said was that a lot of school districts, when their students get to 18 to 21, they're forgotten. And so in the process of them being forgotten, they don't keep up on the assessment of the students to see if they're actually making progress in their programs. And so that is not our goal. We don't want our students to be forgotten. We want our students to feel like they belong, and we want our students to experience the same success that we expect for our other students. And so we plan to do continuous assessment on our students, doing informal inventories and doing our transition skills inventories, academic skills, and helping them look for those post-secondary opportunities where they'll be able to live independently. Any questions for me?
How many students are you expecting for this kind of program?
So currently we have 4 Students who are in the application process for the program for the 22-23 school year, for the 23-24 school year, we have 5 students that are in our CBI program that we've begun conversations with them about the program. So we are hoping that all of our students do continue to go on to the 18 and 21 program.
And what's the state approval process?
So the state approval process requires me to fill out an application with all of the information that I have from this blueprint and placement location, what program curriculum we would use, which I do have that. I've been in conversations with the assistant director. He's already provided me with the course outlines for the students.
This is clearly a very admirable program, and I love the idea of thinking about how can we support these learners as they age into adulthood, facing additional challenges better. So thank you. I'm curious, so is this, are there other cities and states doing comparable programs that we have kind of best practices we can learn from, or is this more of a kind of homegrown partnership we're sourcing with Camden County College and other partners?
So we looked at what other programs do from school districts and also just independent private 18 to 21 programs. And recently there was a presentation from one of the programs, and they talked about one of the things that they do is just place the student at a job site. A student has no input, and so the students aren't as successful because it wasn't a good fit. They weren't allowed opportunities to survey jobs before they were actually placed. And so that was one thing that we felt would be important. When we looked at how we can make that possible for our students, Camden County College seemed like a reasonable partnership because the students are allowed to survey. After doing a year of the survey, they can choose what they would like to do and learn the skills necessary to do that job survey that they've selected. The other thing that we looked at is how programs approach academics. So we in Haddonfield make a lot of decisions and on how we want our students here educated. We always strive to have them perform high, and we try to look at what can we do with that same expectation, but at a level that would be appropriate for them. So the Camden County College courses align to what we do here, but at a level that's appropriate for our 18 to 21 population, and it doesn't pigeonhole them. So not all of our students just want a vocational skill, and so then they have the opportunity to take a college course each semester that they can matriculate in. And
I
so,
used to teach the academic skills reading and writing program there. And I'm excited about this because it's a really supportive program. It's an inclusion class. So you have students who are in these 18 to 21 programs and students who didn't pass the AccuPlacer. And they can move in and out of that. And as professors, we're aware that, different students need different levels of support, and they're small class sizes. So and they get the college experience, which is really great. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for them.
they do get the college experience and they are exposed to students from other places, and I think that's really important. In our program here, I think we have one student that comes from another district to our current community-based program. And it's good to have the exposure to other individuals from other towns. And so they have full access to what's available on the campus. They have access to the activities, they have access to some of the courses, but they definitely will get the opportunity to develop their program and not just be placed somewhere or be in a vocational program that doesn't give the academic piece. So I think that the merging and a partnership for us to have this this memorandum of agreement with Camden County College for our students will afford them with many opportunities.
How many students do we currently have out of district in 18 to 21 programs?
We are at 12 total out, and we are at 5 that are 18 to 21. We actually have some of them that are that they plan to transition to ours.
Right.
And that was my question, because you had said that you were hoping that we would get out of town placements. What is the goal there, and what is the purpose of hoping for additional people to come into this program?
So we want to do the wraparound services, and my goal would be for us to be able to do those wraparound services without a large expense to the district. My goal would be that if we can get students from other places to come through our program, that it would be some cost savings to us without us not getting rid of the structure of the program.
So that would help to support and bolster the program. Okay.
Yeah.
Charge revenue too. Those districts would pay us tuition.
Yeah, I didn't know if the purpose was to stabilize the program, and if you had an idea of how many you'd need to stabilize the program, at what point would you then need, certainly we want to make sure that we have enough support for the kids that are there, and so you have to balance that, just making sure that we're thinking into the future.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions, and I remember calling Chuck on that day. The director and the dean over at Camden County College said, well, will you give all of our students in the Garden State Pathways program the support? And I said, well, we can't give all of your students the support. It couldn't be free. And we could not do that if it would sacrifice what we need to give to our students. So that is very clear. That if we have one instructor, we can't have our students not have the efficient amount of time with the instructor just to capitalize off of other students being here. That's not the goal. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Exciting programs.
Are you going to talk a little about the consultative model at the high school too?
Yes. So we've been working with Marianne Joseph. She is a co-teaching coach. She started consulting with us during the summer and at the high school level primarily. She has spent some time working with middle school and the elementary school. So the reason we brought Marianne Joseph in was we had some questions about how we were running our current co-teaching model across the schools. And we had received some recommendations from a previous audit in the structure of our program, primarily at the high school. So from the audit, one of the recommendations that had come was exploring a consultative model. But before exploring the consultative model, I felt it was necessary to bring Marianne Joseph in to see what a co-teaching coach would say. Can we do something different within our co-teaching models that could improve how we run our program? So Marian Joseph, she did a lot of virtual coaching. She did a PD session during our administrative retreat with all of the administrators. She did a PD on the various co-teaching models. And most recently, Marianne actually did walkthroughs with all of the school administrators. And she made different recommendations for all levels. So those recommendations, they range from how to enhance our co-teaching to how we could change our current model. Marian felt that the high school, the way that it's currently structured with a lot of the students being college bound, would benefit from a in-class resource model, which we currently do have, in combination with a in-class resource consultative model. So just to talk a little bit about what is an in-class resource consultative model. An in-class resource consultative model would involve our special education teacher to continue collaborating and consulting with our general education teacher within the classroom setting, in addition to having our special education teacher doing indirect consultation with our students. And so that teacher could decide that based upon whatever content that is being taught and how students are retaining that information, if they need to stay within the ICR classroom, or if the student would need to have a ICR consultation where they're provided with more direct instruction, maybe in a separate setting, where they are working on any type of skill deficits. So the recommendation was not to get rid of our in-class resource model. She did not feel like that is where the district is, but she said that we can enhance what we're doing by the consultative model, where we are meeting students where they are as learners, and giving them the opportunity to have flexible instruction depending on the content or the needs of those students. Our students will not receive less special education services, because that was one of the questions that I had. When I spoke to her, I was very clear in saying that we were not trying to provide our students with less, but we were trying to make sure that we enhance the models that we use to promote student success and independence. And she agreed. She said she did not feel that Haddonfield was ready to abandon an in-class resource model, but in observation and coaching with the teachers are currently using various models, and the in-class resource current model can be more restrictive than what we currently like. So we have a plan to have Marianne meet with our general ed and our special education teachers in June to talk about how and what the in-class resource model and the consultative model could mesh, and how to have effective use of time. You know, in my conversation with Marianne, even today, she said, your special education teachers are working hard. And so the question is, do we want them to work hard, or do we want them to work smart? And do we want them to be able to be in a position to enhance the student experience, to the content that we teach here. Some of the things with the consultative model is that generally in the ICR model, you don't always have a slower pace. And so in the ICR consultative model, you would be able to slow the pace according to where the student is, instead of saying, you know what, the student doesn't fit here, they need like more restrictive. The goal of the ICR consultative is to avoid our students to become more restrictive by placement into a resource classroom, which is a self-contained classroom. So that's the gist of the ICR consultative model. I do have plans to go to some other high schools that have full consultative models to look at what issues they've run into using a consultative model. And I will be making that trip with Colleen Gasperi, one of the high school teachers, so that we can talk about what we saw and what we want to do here at the high school so we don't run into the same issues. So we are trying to take some steps to be proactive in the approach and being mindful of what recommendations that Mary and Joseph is making for us.
And is the goal for this to be implemented next school year?
Yes, the goal would be for this to be implemented next school year.
Would we need significant training for the teachers to implement this, or is it more of a logistical changes? And
I think that it's a combination of logistics and ensuring that teachers fully comprehend what the model means. The split model does not mean that you get free time, because we're not trying to say you're not responsible for the special education student or any student within that setting. Mary and Joseph's plan at this next meeting is to break down all of the ways that the teachers can utilize the consultative model to benefit their learners. So I don't think that it's like, she said that this is not a full day training. She didn't feel that the teachers needed continual training because they have the gist. I think that the problem is getting them to understand that they're already doing some of this.
it sounds. Yeah, I can see how it's just a different. It's really
They're just
Different model.
it's just a different model of teaching in the same way.
Yeah, they're doing some of this. What she is building in, because what this ties into is universal design for learning.
Yeah.
She said that when she came to the high school, she didn't see a lot of that. And it's important that we do utilize a universal design for learning, because this is how you reach your various learners. And so her goal is to train the teachers on how to use the consultative model and the ICR model with UDL to be able to reach all learners.
Now, is this only for the high school?
So at the 8th grade level, the 8th grade students will have a few minutes towards the end of their period where they will have the consultative model, so in preparation for what they should expect at the high school. And that is only for the ICR science, social studies, math, and ELA.
I guess I'm just, I just don't know, so that's why I'm gonna ask the question. Why does this model work for older students, but we're not thinking about it for younger students?
So that is a good question, and I did talk to her about that. And she said in watching instruction at our younger students, there is more co-teaching going on at the elementary level, more than what she's seen at the upper levels. So the teachers are using co-teaching models They are also doing curriculum adjustments within the co-teaching model. And she didn't feel like she saw the same at the upper levels. She says she sees the consultation, but what she was not seeing was the curriculum adjustments. And I think with how the ICR model is designed, it's easy, I think, sometimes at the high school level for, you have your expert teacher, which is that content area, and then you have your teacher who does the specialized modifications. That one person does one area and then the other one does that other area, but she didn't see a consistent collaboration of both in the co-teaching model here at the high school.
Makes sense.
I think that which I did express this to the teachers, it's my responsibility to listen and observe and to see like how the models are working. Special education is very fluid, so we should expect to make adjustments as necessary to ensure that what we're doing is effective for our learners. And if it's not effective, we need to adjust and keep adjusting and adjusting until it's effective.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to board committee reports. Curriculum committee, we met just this week. Most of our meeting was on, we discussed world language a lot. Some of our foreign languages, the enrollment's dropping in some of the courses. And so what we're looking to implement is the 6th grade exploratory language course, which will give an opportunity for the 6th grade to take a trimester of Spanish, French, and German. And this will give them an opportunity to try them all. So before they go into the 8th grade in the high school, they're able to pick a language that they want to specialize in, and they have more familiarity with it. Yes, and we're looking to start that next year. We talked about we have a data delay where the teachers went over the Lincoln data. The PBL Expo went very well. There was a lot of the teachers really seemed to enjoy that. It was an opportunity for them to showcase what they've been doing in their own classrooms. We talked a little bit about the MAP committee that continues to progress. We're piloting the programs, and I'm on the aspirational committee school, so we got to interview the Cherry Hill department. They started a new program there, so a lot of good research going on there. And then we talked about the summer program, which is enrichment programs. There's going to be courses at all levels. I know earlier we were a little concerned about finding teachers who were able and willing to teach it, and we have classes in all levels: elementary, middle school, and secondary. So it'll be good. Very exciting. Oh, we also had we talked about framing your thoughts, which is a methodology professional development opportunity for teachers, which is supplemental to the writing program that we currently use, and it focuses on teaching writing in an explicit way. Any questions?
I have a question about the 6th grade exploratory language. So 7th grade, do they then just pick one of those languages and will they be behind the kids who started in 6th grade, or is the exploratory for everybody?
Everybody.
Oh, for everyone. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, Dave, finance?
Finance, we met 2 days ago, 15. We talked about a donation from a bench from the Tatum PTA. It's going to memorialize a child that had passed away years ago. It started at the playground area. The district's responsible for the installation on a concrete base, but the cost of the bench and the plaque will be borne by the PTA. The HMS Courtyard project, it seemed as if We went backwards because the sail shading came down. It comes down for the winter because it can be damaged by snow, and the chances of students using the courtyard during the winter months is a lot less because of temperature and bad weather. But the sails are back, or they're going back up just in time for new weather. The courtyard is deemed 100% complete at this point. And the mocktail celebration to celebrate the completion of the beautification project. I think everybody got saved the dates today.
But I got the wrong date. I think it's the 19th, not the 17th. I'll send it.
Yeah. So we're gonna
April?
revise to save the date.
Of April?
No,
No,
man.
it's May.
May.
It'll be
Before May.
5 to 7 before
Oh,
our school board meeting of that week. And there's also a
Haddonfield Sings also.
Haddonfield Sings will also be on site at 7 o'clock. So we hope that just come early. Come early for either the board meeting or come early for Haddonfield Sings and enjoy a mocktail and celebrate the completion of the beautification project. And then hear about new donation opportunities from the Haddonfield Educational Trust. Painting progress, we talked about, we had invested in a painter for the grounds, for the building committee, for the building staff. Last year, was it that we brought on the painter?
Summer?
Actually,
October, I think. Yeah.
Or October?
oh, well, the new painter was December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, December.
So she's moving really quickly. She's focused right now in the Tatum area to match all the different, the 1926 section, some of the newer construction sections in the hallways, so that there's a consistent color theme throughout all those spaces. The next big project will be freshening up the nursery, and that'll happen during spring break. And then they'll just be moving around to the different schools and improving corridors and specialty rooms as need arises and time permits. We then talked about a sidebar with the HEA, with grounds and custodial services. There's just a little cleanup that has to happen. And then just a general cleanup for another just language that gets kind of changed along the way from contract to contract, from lawyer to lawyer. So there'll be a couple adjustments or a couple sidebars with the HEA to just clean up some areas regarding EA's salary guide, as well as building and ground custodial salary guides. And then I got a presentation on the 2021 audit that will be on the agenda for next week for us to approve. Congratulations, Mike, there were no findings. So that's another year of no findings. Earlier in my board career, there were always findings. Some big, some small, most small, one big, one time. There was a recommendation to improve our process for documentation of extraordinary aid, and that's because our extraordinary aid level has crossed the threshold where the paper requirements are higher now. So Mike is working with the audit team to make sure that our support documentation is stronger because of our increased amount of money we get. We discussed the crew budget, so we've been talking about the crew budget. There's not really an increase to the budget amount that we support that activity, but we did ask for the administration to go back and evaluate the level of support that others, there aren't a lot, other schools in our area, what kind of support they actually do give their crew, and just compare it to what we do currently offer, which is a lot, which is space and insurance and an area for training. And then lastly, we just reviewed the process for resource allocation based off of class head count sizes. So as students select what they want to take, the administration then right balances the right teachers to the right sections and all that. So we just evaluated that process that they go through every spring. That was really
Thank you. Questions for Dave? All right, Lynn, policy?
Policy committee met last Thursday. We discussed a policy that's on the agenda this month for our first reading. That's policy 5440, honoring student achievement. And we really just updated it to reflect revisions that were made to policy 5432, which was student recognition, that was adopted back in January 2020. This is the last year that the district will have valedictorian and salutatorian. So the policy was updated to reflect that. Next year, the cum laude system will be implemented. So it included those updates, also references to the addition of the National Honor Society in the middle school, that will be starting this year in 8th grade. And the grading system, policy 2624, that we're now on a 10-point grading scale, 6th grade through 12th grade. And then the recommendation is to abolish the corresponding regulation, because everything in that regulation is now part of the updated policy. So that's our only first reading. We have 11 policies and regulations on the agenda for a second reading for an adoption this month, and no new issues were raised on those in committee. And then finally, we reviewed 6 existing policies. Changes were not deemed necessary for 5 of them. We did, however, have a lengthy discussion about 2340, which is our field trips. That was last updated in 2018. And our discussion really centered around a part of the regulation that says all students K to 8 will experience the same 2 or 3 curriculum-related field trips each school year. The number of curriculum trips varies only by grade level, not by school or teacher. So this summer, all of the field trips will be audited to make sure that they are equitable and educationally sound across the district. Our discussion was specifically about Lizzie Haddon's trip to Ellis Island. They have been taking that trip since 2012, 4th grade. The other 2 elementary schools don't take it, but the consensus among our committee was they've been taking it since 2012. They've been taking it since this regulation was updated, except for COVID. The proximity of time is soon. The teachers and students were all excited about the trip. We didn't want to cancel anything else with COVID. And it will be looked at again this summer. But as of now, the trip will go on as planned. We also talked about 1550, Equal Employment Anti-Discrimination Policy and Regulation. We just had a little discussion about language in there that says the board will encourage minority businesses, women's businesses, and labor surplus area firms to submit bids to be considered for awarding of contracts. So we just had a discussion about making sure that we are following that, ways to identify those organizations and proactively reach out to those groups moving forward. Finally, we're holding till next month again, 7250 school and facility names. And hopefully we'll have a present. We all have little homework assignments, and we'll have some language potentially next month for you.
Then one thing I wanted to add was our discussion on 8220, which was the school day. There is a discussion among the administrative team about looking at whether or not we should make the preschool start and end times consistent with the start of kindergarten for the AM session and the end, beginning and end of the PM preschool kindergarten session. Right now, there's a 15-minute lag. So we are looking into the pros and cons of that. We have heard some feedback from the community that they would like to see those times consistent. Some of the variables that play into that include our transportation. So we've been consulting with Mr. Banos in his role as Director of Transportation. And we are developing a survey for current and incoming preschool parents to get some feedback on the matter. So no changes yet, it's just in the discussion phase.
Mm-hmm. And no changes to the policy. That would just be a practical change. So I don't think the times start, like the start of the school day, end of the school day are in the policy.
I don't
It
think
is.
they're in the handbooks.
I'm pretty sure it's in the regulation, I think. But the policy does reference that any change to the beginning or end times of the school day require board.
Okay.
One question with regard to the just overall diversity questions with regard to vendors. Are those questions that we ask of vendors when we contract with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bidding requirement, and then all of our purchase orders, it's language on the back of the purchase order. So.
Just checking, thanks.
Okay, the only thing we don't proactively seek out minority-owned businesses. We rely on the RFP process. We rely on businesses and organizations to submit them to us. And in reviewing that policy, it begs the question, should we be doing more proactively to encourage those types of businesses and organizations to submit to us rather than just waiting passively?
Well, in non-prevailing wage bids, where we have to take low bid, we could write into the rubrics of the evaluation rubrics a diversity piece, couldn't we?
No, we could, whatever we require is whatever we want.
It's a good idea.
Happy to do that.
Okay, Linda, LRFP,
We are not, we meet next week, I think, yeah.
um,
On Tuesday?
Tuesday
The
the
6th.
5th.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, I don't
Fifth,
think,
fifth, fifth.
yeah, it's the first Tuesday, right? Okay, I just wanna make sure. 'Cause-
Yes.
Okay, PTA updates,
Not since the last meeting.
okay. Dr. Priolo, anything for Assistant Superintendent's report?
Yes, so we almost, we're almost at the end of the first week maskless. Things continue to go well. We have not seen a spike in cases, although we probably wouldn't see that till next week if there is a direct correlation to the masks. Overall, our southwest region, we're in the green for the first time since September of 2020. So that's pretty tremendous. The whole part, the southern part of the state is in the green right now. And obviously, if you guys read the news, it makes me nervous. You're reading about this other variant in Europe, and I'm kind of like avoiding, I'm reading the first line and then scrolling to a different news article. But in reality, we do continue to think about that. The pivot to having lunches indoor and outdoors is going really well, but that doesn't happen without a lot of hard work and planning. I can't give enough praise and thanks to our principals who coordinate that effort. I think the kids are really enjoying it. We did seek consent. Well, maybe that's not the right way to put it. We put out a survey to all of our parents if they don't allow their child to eat outside. I think there's like a handful district-wide. So students have the ability to go inside or outside. The parent volunteer corps is working really well. That enables that to happen. Classroom teachers are feeling good about their classrooms going back to normal. And we currently, I think I already said this, we're currently at 7 cases in the district. A new version of our daily COVID questionnaire will roll out tomorrow per our plan to continue that until the spring break and reevaluate at that time. And, you know, I've gotten some feedback for and against that. And I think the rationale really is that there are some things we are doing that are not aligned with county health department recommendation. You know, we're not doing contact tracing as robustly as we did. We are not adhering to the physical distancing in the classrooms. So really what this questionnaire only does is provide an additional mitigation measure to have parents and students pause every day and think about how their child is feeling before they send them to school. And we hope that if things continue to go well, we will remove that following spring break. We're nearing completion of this round of gifted and talented testing for qualification for next year. We tested 256 students. It's a little more than we tested last year. Results will come out around mid-April to those families. Oh, another thing to circle back to on COVID, that this is just coming out, you may have seen this, but funds from the federal government have run out for the uninsured, which means that effective March 22nd, uninsured claims will not be accepted for COVID testing. And effective April 5th, uninsured claims will no longer be accepted for vaccinations. Now, fortunately, one of the state reports we're required to do annually is to ask parents to self-report if they are uninsured. We are aware of one family in the school district that we know of, that we work with in situations like this. So we're hopefully dealing with a low number because that could obviously provide a hardship for an uninsured family. That does not impact a student's ability to receive testing through the school district. That's a totally separate state-run program. So we have not been given a deadline of when our state funding will run out for the in-district program that we're testing 3 days a week. So I don't anticipate that ceasing before the end of the school year. Two more things. The district is working very hard in accepting students who are coming in from Ukraine. We currently have 5 students. Again, the principals, Tammy, Tracy, Kim, I think those are the 3 schools.
I think Central has one.
And we have one we think we're coming. I mean, it's.
I heard from a colleague who knows one of the families, and he said that the school district has been doing an amazing job, and they're so grateful, and
That's
yeah.
good to hear. And it's a coordinated effort. All the principals and our team were working together to make sure that, one student's not getting something that another student isn't getting. And the other great thing for anyone who has any kind of critique of government, one of the government entities that has really shown through here is our Homeless Education Act, which is called the McKinney-Vento Act. So that provides programs, support services for children who are homeless. Children who are coming from the war in Ukraine are considered homeless. So I am working directly with those families. We have submitted applications for McKinney-Vento services for all of those students. The first application that got back to me, I sent, and within 2 hours, a representative from the state was in touch with me and already coordinating with the family about what they need. What kind of health needs do they have? Do they need backpacks? Do they need therapy? Do they need access to medication? Whatever it is, it's kind of like, we're going to do whatever we can. So with that effort and the efforts that's happening homegrown through our principals, through our families, it's pretty incredible. So that's going well. And we had the honor of being asked again to present at the International Ruler Conference. Ruler is our social emotional framework. Myself, Kristen Loren, and Dina O'Connor presented at that conference last week. It went really well. We got really fantastic feedback, which was really good. And that's what I have. Any questions?
Okay, Mr. Klaus?
While you're loading up, Joe, I just have one question. You anticipate the lunch program to continue through the rest of the year as well?
We haven't heard about that.
Well, the rest of the year.
Rest of the year
It's the year, it's next year, that's. the
Right.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I frankly would be surprised if they extended it next year, but we haven't heard one way or the other.
Yeah,
That's
no,
my-
I've been enjoying that. I don't hear it
It's such a win-win
complaint
for
from my
everyone.
son every
Yeah.
day. I almost forgot that packing lunch is a thing, so I'm gonna be very sad to see it go.
And I talk obviously weekly with our food service management company, NutriServe. They don't know either. So obviously when that news breaks, we'll share.
Here we are. Actually, you'll notice I put in at the top, we nurture, we inspire, we empower, and I have a mission statement. This is something we should be reminding ourselves often about what we do. So I've now started to include these. I'm going to touch on 4 topics today. First of all, the budget update. So we had our preliminary budget report last 2 weeks ago, a month ago. Since then, we got our state aid. So usually we would have had the state aid before that came on, but there were delays. So we did get an increase in state aid of about $442,000. That's not the exact number. I rounded off. So I couldn't remember. I forgot to call my. And that's great. We were very happy about that. We were expecting a bump. This is a bigger bump than we had hoped. But our costs have gone up too, and we still are doing some belt tightening, right? So we went through some things, and you'll see we continue to support these initiatives. We're getting a new in-house behaviorist. These are the things we're continuing to support. But we are tightening our belts. We have gone through our supply lines and cut out about $400,000 in supply lines. We're cutting other areas too, because we have to do that. That's part of the challenge of being anyone in the budget, including me and my house. So that's one of those things that's happening. The question came up about professional services in that budget line, which is one that has been growing dramatically. And professional services, as you can see here, it covers a lot of things, from legal to homebound instruction, tutoring, behaviorist substitutes. Those costs are rising around us, and those costs are landing on us. And they're challenging costs because every single one of these things is crucial and necessary and valued. So we just can't say we're going to cut these things, right? That's not how this works. So we have plans, and we are still sharpening pencils to make the plans. And the key to it is our plans have to be guaranteed to make the savings, right? So if we put something in place, this will work, and it doesn't work, then we're in trouble. And the best example is, and this is why we've talked about the EAs, right? So we have about 16 educational assistant positions unfilled right now. So we contract those out. That falls under this line, which would be our salary line usually. It's a lot of money, right? It's a significant amount of money. So we have ideas, and we're going to be talking with the HEA. We've talked a little about how to solve this problem. But if our idea misses, then we really can jam ourselves up, right? So we're looking through different solutions. We're going to try to figure out which ones we believe will be the most successful. And that's, if we make that work, we're really doing pretty well in a lot of areas. We'll still have to tighten our belts. We always tighten our belts from now on. But that's where we are with the budget. So when Mike's presenting next week is it? He's going to give a second. We usually don't give two budgets. He's giving another one there that's going to show maybe some of these things and how we're going to work these out. So we have the numbers meeting, but we would be more comfortable if we can guarantee that our plan is successful. So we are still sitting on eggshells a little bit with our budget, right? The 420 to the 442 got us to where we could sit on eggshells. And do you sit on eggshells or walk on eggshells? Whatever you do.
It'll hurt either way.
Whatever you do on eggshells, you do it. So the
You sit
422
on it.
got us at that point. I've said it like 3 times. I still don't think it sounds right. So the 422 got us to there, but there still is some sleeplessness in certain people's worlds with this. And so that's where we are with our budget. Any questions about that piece?
I was curious, I know one of the issues with budget is when class sizes go smaller.
Mhm.
Do we ever talk to neighboring school districts? So I don't know one, but let's say Spanish numbers are down, but if they're down in Collingswood and Haddon Heights and whatever, is there a way, I just feel like now with technology, is there a way to share a teacher that sometimes kids are online, but sometimes the teacher's there, or something like that would help all?
We had done that in the past in a couple instances. So we tried it one time with AP, Calc BC.
Okay.
And it didn't, scheduling just couldn't work. But you're right, now is a different era. At one point in time, we shared a Latin teacher with Eastern High School.
Okay.
So we have done those things in the past to limit to a certain amount of success.
Because I imagine everyone's feeling like the
That
professional
push.
services
Right, yes,
push.
right.
You know what I mean? It's and now our students and faculty, all of us, are so much better
Correct,
with
yeah.
technology that maybe there's, I don't know,
That's
something there.
it's
It's just a
very
thought
much
I
got
had.
to explore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read you the slide. You can look at it. I think I put it in a thing. So I want to take time this year to start changing some things we do in the summer. Our leadership team, much like our board retreat, we would get in this library, which we're in all the time, and sit here for 3 days and talk to each other. It was always nice because we're nice people and we try to get things done. But it really, I don't think, had the impact that something like that's supposed to have. Right? It really should be an invigorating thing. You need energized and ready to go out and conquer. So AASA has what's called the Learning 2025 conference, and it's the last week in June. One of the things I would love I'm going to want to do, I'm going to recommend this, is to take the team away as a whole to a conference, right, and learn together. The problem is most conferences, for some reason, almost every conference in education happens during the school year. We can't take a team away during the school year. This one just happens to fall outside of that. So what my plan is to do is to take a core group down, building principals and the like, to attend the conference. It's in DC, so it's not that far away. There is one in New Orleans, the same dates, but we decided DC. And then those people who aren't as tied into what conference offers, I'll use Mike as an example, because this is more educational, but he's still part of the industry, would join us at the end. So it's a 2.5-day conference. Mike and some others would come down at the end. We would, the second half, that half day, we would do a workshop in the afternoon, stay an extra night, workshop the next day, and then come home. And have a time away from here where we have things to talk about and focus on and really try to grow as a team. And then every week, like a Tuesday afternoon, we would get together, whoever's on vacation, and come here and do the board thing. But hit more practical things, whatever our student handbooks like that. And that way we kind of get that content across the summer. So that's what we're going to do. Now, this year, we have money put away for conferences for our administrators that has not been used. So this actually will fall into our budget for this year, maybe a little bit outside of it, but it'll almost all be covered by contractual obligations that our administrators go to conferences. So it's not a big deal that way either. And by the time I came up with the idea, some people are on vacations. Doesn't matter. That's save us money too. So that's where we're going to go. But I put the last line there. I think we all started talking after we met with Judy. I think we need to rethink how we do our board retreat too, because all it is now is a 5-hour board meeting. It's a 5-hour board meeting. We're not being told about my COVID plan, which my first 2 board meetings are 5 hours long with public comments. But I really think we need to sit down and grab a group and plan something that's going to be different. And like I said, there's challenges. So it was our summer workshop retreat is a public meeting, so we have to have access. Public has to have access to it. So if we go to the Bahamas, as we have to pay for the public to come with us, I assume. But there are things I think we can talk about and figure out. There are things that we can work through. But I want to change. I think we all would agree we'd like to change kind of what we do there as well. So that leads on to those things. We are coming out of 2 years of doldrums, right? And we are catching our breath, but I think this is a time that we need to say, here's why you guys come spend all your time for free. Here's why we dedicate our lives to this thing. Let's make it happen and make it happen well. And I think this will be helpful for that.
I couldn't be in more support of this. I think leadership, taking time, coming out of COVID positively, this couldn't be a more perfect time. But I think as an ongoing way, you guys you work so hard every single day, and to step out, step away, and have an opportunity to think differently, and as you said, be invigorated and bring that back. That is an investment that it will pay dividends.
Priceless.
Yeah. I've been on this board for 9 years. I've never been in a classroom on purpose from the board.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not kidding. Even during the referendum, facility stores didn't exist. I for one, just as a recommendation, you got to learn what we're actually overseeing as a board. And we see this library, and in the summer we used to see the central library. We don't get to see the place, and we don't need to see it with children. And in the summertime, obviously, we don't have that opportunity, or really, that's not our charge either.
Right.
But it'd be really nice to just see what we're overseeing, because we don't get to do it.
I think it's true. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be the whole retreat. Just if at one point,
Sure.
one of our summer meetings
Yeah.
could be a walking tour, and we can actually invite the public. And because we're going into a referendum time, they can get to see the condition of these spaces too.
So really
All right.
see where the magic happens.
Yeah.
So there are the two properties on Grove Street we've been talking about for a while now. So I realize how long it's been going on over front since I took this position. But we are now actually talking with finalizing a detail about a lease purchase agreement on those properties, and so the negotiations are real and they are progressing well. The use for this would be to move. So we talked about a lot of different things you could do there, and in the end, ultimately, the one thing you could move there that would never have to move again would be the board office, the central office, and the business office, and move that there. Because if we moved something else there, if the referendum goes through, when the referendum goes through, they'd probably move again. So this would be the one group that could move there and do that. So We are looking at doing that. We were very, as I said, we're very close to that. The current board offices, we have actually, whatever the architectural drawings, schematics, whatever they would be called, of how that could be converted. It can be connected to Central School. So that could be a place where we move our current child study team, and on another level, maybe put in some other additional conference room for Central School, or maybe an OT and PT classroom, a more modern and appropriate. That would free up areas in the high school that could be used more instructional than office space. So this is a set of dominoes would fall that's going to free up spaces in multiple places. The challenge is obviously construction in schools take time, this and that, so it wouldn't be an instantaneous thing, some of these changes, but we have plans in place that we can benefit from all these spaces. And so as I said, we're pretty far into this right now.
Exciting.
And then finally, we have an update on our long-range facilities planning. The student and staff visioning meetings, those dates are set and times are set, so they're in place, ready to go. Next Thursday, we hope to have out by then the time for the community, the charrettes for the community. I keep saying charrettes because I don't know how to spell it, so I keep telling the joke too. So you guys are tired of joke. We actually have the website has been launched. There's not a lot in it right now, but there is some stuff in it right now. And so here's our website. And we went back and forth about what picture to get. And so since Cooley Hall's sitting there in the high school, and they're going to be main foci of the I'm not sure what it is, of this referendum, because that A building we're sitting in over there needs a lot of work, and that Cooley Hall is that land right there is a big part of what we're looking at. So this is where we are, and this is one of those things. And Sue always talked about this when she was here for this whole presentation. Cooley Hall is huge. Like, I didn't, you don't realize.
You can't see it, and when you're in there, even walking through it.
How big that is, and it's not efficient use of space. So that's, when that decision to tear it down and put up something more efficient, you could gather half of that land back on.
Yeah.
So
It would be our biggest elementary school if it was.
It would be the biggest elementary school right now.
It's huge.
And so that is. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I have something else here. I think that's it.
I think you had uploaded.
Oh, I have upcoming presentations. I shut myself out. So next week we have Mike. You're doing a secondary budget.
The auditor is
And
coming
the
to
auditor.
present the audit. I'll do my next budget presentations.
Then in the first one in April, we're going to give a full report on all of our ESSER and American Rescue Fund spending. So we've got almost a couple $1 million in that, right, Mike?
I mean, altogether, probably somewhere around 2 million.
Yeah, so we're going to share where that money went and all that stuff, because it's $2 million, and people should need to know where that money went. And you'd be amazed how things gobble up, even though the American Rescue Plan is planned for. It hasn't been spent yet because that money doesn't kick in just yet. And then we have some more coming up. So.
Very good. Okay, I don't have a report tonight. Just want to say it's so nice to see everyone's faces and being maskless. It's been a long time. Okay, so we'll move on to public comments. We'll now begin the open public comment session. Members of the community are invited to speak for no more than 3 minutes at this time. If your 3 minutes is up, we invite you to get back in line if you'd like to make additional comments. This is an opportunity for the board to listen, but not debate issues or enter into a question and answer period. Please be aware that not all issues brought up before a board meeting will be resolved that evening. We ask you to state your name and the name of your street so that a designee can get back to you with a response if warranted. General responses to comments will be posted on the Board of Education website under the Resources tab, where it says Open Public Comment Replies. While public education can be an emotional issue, we strive to maintain a certain level of decorum at the meeting. Public meetings are recorded and televised, and students often participate in the meetings. As such, citizens are expected to maintain a tone of courtesy and civility. So anyone would like to approach the podium at this time?
Looks like I'm the only one. Or
Yeah.
you want to go first?
Yeah, you go.
Sure.
Yeah.
I won't be Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Hi.
I'm Derek Matoff. I live on Avondale Avenue, and I have two daughters in the school district, 6th grade and 9th grade. And first off, I want to say how they're thriving in the school district. They're doing great. I have no concerns about them, but I do have a concern about the consultative model or the consultative model that Dr. Henderson has proposed. I'm also a high school science teacher. I teach at Audubon High School. So I teach within class supports regularly. And one of the things that was not mentioned is that in her email, and I've had conversations with her, there would be a reduction in the in-class support teacher being in the classroom from 209 minutes, which is basically every day a week, down to 129 minutes, which is a 40% decrease in the time that in-class support teachers would be required to be in the classroom. And to me, I have a huge problem with that as an educator. As an educator, I believe that all of our job, the main job we're here for, is to make sure that classrooms, that teachers are in classrooms and teachers are being effective in those classrooms. And I think that proposal would completely devalue the in-class support teacher. If you're telling an in-class support teacher that currently you're required to be in the classroom for 5 days a week, now you're only required to be in there potentially 2 or 3 days a week. Right? I think that completely devalues the role that they play in the classroom, right? I know, speaking for myself, when I have teaching class support classes, if you were to remove my teacher, the in-class support teacher, for 2 days a week, it completely changes the environment in which I'm teaching it. Something simple as like conducting a lab, right? If I'm conducting a lab and my in-class support teacher currently is absent, there are times I can't do that lab. I can't physically do it because these are the students that need our help, right? These classrooms are the ones where our students need the most help. And there's a reason why there are currently 2 teachers in the room. And I feel like if you remove them, you're hurting the subject matter teacher, the science teachers, the social study teachers, because we rely on them. I rely on their expertise. I'm not a special education expert, right? They are the special education expert. I'm the subject matter expert. And if you remove them from my classroom, it's going to struggle. It's not going to function the same way that it normally would. And so I also think it devalues what they do. What message do we send to them that says to our special ed teachers that you don't need to be in the classroom every day of the week, right? In addition, since I am the expert on science in the classroom, the special education teacher is not the expert, and they need to be in the classroom for that information. Right? The greatest compliments I usually get are from my in-class support teachers, where they tell me, look, I learned so much in your classroom by being in your classroom, right? Well, if you're telling them they don't have to be there twice a week, right? Reducing it from 209 hours to 129 hours is a huge change. It's a huge shift in the way that we do in-class support, right? It is no longer a co-teaching model. When I've shared this with other colleagues of mine in Audubon and friends that are also teachers, they don't know what to make of it. They usually, why is this being done? This makes no sense, right? This is not the way that special education is supposed to work, right? We need to have special education teachers in the classroom where they can be most effective. And I think I covered all my. And I understand special education teachers, there's one other thing. Did I go over 3 minutes?
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry. And I understand special education teachers are overworked. There is no doubt, and they're difficult to find. At Audubon High School, every single one of our special education teachers are on overload, right? But this taking them out of the classroom in the name of flexibility, to have more flexibility, I don't think is the correct answer. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. And I used to teach at Audubon, so I'm sure we have some friends in common.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, I'm very happy with the way my daughters are doing this. It's not bad at all. Just what I.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Charlie Webb. I live on Grove Street. I just had 2 questions regarding the new outdoor courtyard that was discussed earlier. Do you know when the awnings are going up? Like what date that would be?
Probably during or after spring break.
Okay. And then will there be any more furniture going into the courtyard, or is it just going to be those 2 red tables or 3 red tables?
We'll get back to you.
Okay.
I don't know.
Are you making a suggestion? You can make a
Yeah, yeah.
suggestion. Why don't you're using it. What do you this is our time
What
to
would
take
be helpful?
comments and suggestions. So any suggestions, comments?
Well, I think it's hard right now to tell because not many people are using the courtyard. However, once the weather does start getting better, as we move into spring, I think seeing the placement and if we need more furniture out there, I feel like the I don't know what you want to call it, the stair looking thing, it's kind of awkward to sit on. It's extreme, it's large and there's only one bench on top of it. So maybe more benches would be beneficial. But I think we'd have to wait and see how it plays out in the spring. And then my last question is, how would the Grove Street properties open up space in the high school? What spaces would that be opening up?
I'm not supposed to answer questions.
Yeah.
So right now, on the second floor above the A building, that's where our child select team offices are.
Okay.
It's a whole area there. Those would come out and be placed where the board office is now, so that would open up that space to develop for instructions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
He gets dispensation, he was board rep.
Yeah. Okay, any more public comments? We will move on then to review the agenda. This is not a voting session. This is a working session, so we'll go through the agenda and discuss things, but we won't be voting on anything tonight. So first, governance. Any discussion on governance?
Just on the HIV vandalism violence report, seems that some line items have a lot of detail and some have zero detail, and it seems sometimes there's a lot of detail on things that are researched and not found at all, and then some things that have really serious labels have absolutely no description.
I got the same thing. There's a lot of NAs. I just wasn't sure why, I was kind of curious about that.
I'll look into that.
And I'm just wondering, from a trend, it seemed that there was just an increase in instances.
It's spring, part of it.
Yeah. It's spring.
It's spring. I mean, that's what happens.
No, fair enough.
I think you probably find that
Seasonal
pretty
trend.
trend.
Yeah.
Crime goes up in
You
the summer.
get more when it snows, because snowballs are thrown. You get those other things start happening.
Sure.
But I'll
More time on the playground is more time for
to play
mischief.
around, right,
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, moving on for curriculum and special education. All right, seeing no discussion, moving on to personnel. Approval of the business and finance recommendations. I had a,
It's okay.
there you go.
Just I know that we did talk about, the fact that we have, the pre-referendum, costs. Is it just, do we have it spelled out what that actually is?
Isn't there an attachment? Is there an attachment to it?
No.
To the file, or is it? Oh, man. Yeah, there should be the proposal.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, so we'll check it
It'll-
before next week.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
in the link we sent out tomorrow, there will be that.
Okay.
That was the same question I had.
Forgive
Okay.
me. Yes, there is, it is broken down by what service is what, and also because this spans across 3 fiscal years, what year each, what year is being charged, how much is being charged each year.
Okay, so we'll look at it when we get that.
Sorry
Thank
about
you. That's okay.
Okay.
Just a question on RFPs. Are we going after RFP for sustaining our current levels on all 3 of those activities? Or are there any substantial changes to what we're looking for of any of those? Especially.
This is just for me, the practice of reviewing these on a periodic basis. I have, what was it, probably 5-year schedule probably in year 2 of that schedule now, and just going through various professional services every year. Not every professional service every year, but a rotation of certain professional services at least every 3 years. Does that answer your question?
It does. I'll shoot an email for another day. In some of these services, we've been very fortunate to have members on the board that specialize in some of those things. I think of the one that I think of substitute services. Dennis Kelleher, who negotiated contracts like in his sleep, and specifically those types of services, was instrumental in the negotiation of the last substitute teacher contract. I mean, that tells you how a while ago it was. Would we reach out to the community for any help in evaluating any of these services if we didn't have in-house?
I wish you were sorry.
No, no.
Before we even go out to RFP, but before I even compile and put together the requirements, specifications, all that, that's something, Chuck, Gino, and I would discuss, of course.
So you're just looking for us to approve your action to actually do the work
and go out. You could expect approval for the following year, probably May.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for finance? All right, approval of the minutes. Any questions about those? All right, items for future consideration of the board?
Actually, I have one. We got there was a presentation with regard to the Start Strong numbers, and certainly they were, we know what COVID did. But I know that the numbers are probably higher than we'd like. And what it told us is that we've got some kids that need either some strong support or moderate support. And just wondering if we could get some kind of an update on what the practical things that are being done to address those students.
All right, yeah, so we'll glad to get it.
Okay.
So we're looking at these practical, rubber hits the road. What are we actually doing now? What are our plans to do? What does that look like? How's that going to be paid for? All those things.
Yeah. Real tactical, not theoretical.
Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting and go into executive session to discuss real estate acquisition. Okay, Steph and Meg. I know.